Hey, it's Patrick O'Driscoll from TVG. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to comfortably scale to $1 million a month for your e-commerce brand. So two of our partners achieved the $1 million a month mark last month. And it really got me thinking about, okay, what's actually required to scale a brand to that size? Now, most people are focused on the acquisition side. They'll tell you to spend more money on ads and that's going to solve all your problems. What we found and what we're really focusing on is how do we bolster the back end retention engine to ensure that we can be more aggressive on the advertising side. So this image right here really depicts kind of what I'm talking about. The perfect middle ground to achieving $500,000, $1 million a month with a Shopify brand is the perfect blend of ad spend and acquisition and retention. The best brands right now that are able to scale aggressively can do so and beat their competitors because they have a strong retention system in place. Now, when we talk about retention, there are a variety of ways of doing it. The number one lever for retaining your customers is one, having an amazing product. So let's assume that you do have an amazing product. Now let's talk about what we can actually do as operators, as marketers to actually retain those customers so that we can scale to $1 million months. Most brands fail or get beat by their competition because they're so dependent on the front end for acquisition. And yes, don't get me wrong, we want to scale your ad spend, but we want to scale your ad spend aggressively knowing that customers are sticking around and buying. Now that involves massive forecasting to ensure that we know our lifetime value and ensure that it's worth every single ad dollar that's going out the door. So what we've seen, most brands plateauing at $100,000 to $500,000 a month. This is where scaling gets scary. You've seen success, but you don't want to put the foot on the gas. Maybe you're seeing rising CPAs, lifetime value is flat, or you might not even be calculating that or really seeing your customer lifecycle data post-purchase. There's back-end chaos, so no flows, bad segmentation. Yes, you should have email and SMS. Maybe you've worked with an agency that's built your flows or something, but to get us to a $500,000, $1 million a month, we're not talking about basic welcome browse abandonment, like the basic core flows. We're talking about more complex strategies to make sure that we're segmenting every piece of your customer database as well as where they are in their customer lifecycle. Poor subscription retention. So if you do run a brand that has the opportunity to offer subscription, you can literally scale your business as like a SaaS, like a software. There's a reason why these software companies can scale so fast because they get you onto subscription. Think about Netflix, right? They have a nice base of customers to subscribe. Now, we need to go beyond just offering a subscription offer to our customers. We need to make sure that we have all the elements, the automations in the back end to retain those customers and make sure they don't cancel, or if they do cancel, or if they do pause, to get them back on a subscription to make sure that our subscription revenue is a nice base of consistent monthly recurring revenue for your brand. And then lastly, team fatigue from trying to scale acquisition alone. A lot of brands pour so much effort, time, money, resources into the acquisition, and they can't scale or they can't really weather high CPAs because they're so stressed out because they're constantly chasing for that new customer. What we aim to do with our brand partners is establish a strong base of customers that come back and repeat purchase. Now, a lot of the data that we'll look at for that is, of course, your repeat purchase rate, your customer lifetime value, maybe over the course of 60, 90, 120 days, so we can get the full picture here. We need to do everything in our power to make sure that the retention engine, the retention side, is bolstered so that we can be more aggressive on the ad side. That allows us to be in that middle ground of sustainable $1 million months. So what we've seen working with a variety of brands, the $1 million a month equation is ad efficiency, yes, but high lifetime value and back-end infrastructure. Email should be generating 30 to 50% plus of monthly revenue. We should have a subscription offer in place if your products do allow for that. If you're selling a $1,000 cold plunge, $5,000 cold plunge, you wouldn't necessarily have subscription, or if you have an info product or something off the back of that high ticket item. But if you are selling a consumable, let's build our subscription base. Segmentation for high repeat rate. If we don't know our customer segments, if we don't know our first-time buyers, our never purchased before buyers, our customers that are VIPs that have purchased 3-5 times a month, we need to know what those segments are and be able to speak to those customers in a different way so we can keep pushing them down the customer lifecycle journey. CAC payback in 30 days. So we can be as aggressive as possible on the advertising side if we have a strong repeat customer rate, especially within the first 30 days if your brand allows for that, or 90 days if your brand depends on what product you're selling. The point here is how can we be very predictable and reliable that when we acquire a customer, yes, they're going to purchase on the front end, but how can we get them back to buy? That's going to be massive. Your back end is what allows you to scale with confidence. So let's just break this down from a high level, the retention engine breakdown. So there's lifecycle flows, campaign strategy, design and copy, and ongoing optimization. So first step is lifecycle flows. Now, You can get if you're doing $100,000 to $500,000 a month, I'm sure you have the basics of your flows in place. Now we need to start talking about more complex flows. For example, subscription flows, or more segmentation around like VIP, loyalty, average order value rate. These lifecycle flows are going to be way more than what people might just like, hey, we'll build your 5, Klaviyo flows. We need to talk about the whole customer life cycle. That's why we're talking about lifecycle flows, not just basic Klaviyo email flows. Campaign strategy. We want to make sure we're sending consistently, but not necessarily sending to everyone the same messaging. So that involves segmentation and figuring out what customers get what message at what time. Design and copy, this should be executed to the top degree. We need to make sure that we have high quality images, high quality designs, high quality copy to ensure that we're on brand, as well as still pushing them over the edge to purchase. Ongoing optimization. This is where I feel most agencies, most brands struggle, is the ongoing optimization piece. We don't just like set and forget it. Once we start to get customers through our flywheel of flows and start to see the data of like click-through rate, the percentage of revenue through Klaviyo, now we're going to look at all the little cracks and figure out how we can squeeze more revenue out of these flows and campaigns. So it is an ongoing optimization. It's not a set it and forget it. So let's just talk about lifecycle flows. So automated infrastructure that monetizes your customer journey. These are the flows that are a little bit more complex than your basic one. So yes, you have a welcome flow, but is that segmented by either the acquisition channel or the average order value? Post-purchase. Do we have different post-purchase flows for first-time buyers, returning, product-specific post-purchase flows? Subscription, onboarding, and retention. So do we have flows in place that are for new subscribers and people that pause? So we have a full scope of flows that are speaking to every stage of the subscription lifecycle. Replenishment. So someone buys, when they should replenish, and make sure that we have that segmented and timed by the SKU that they're looking at. Again, a lot of brands maybe internally don't have the time to build out all these flows for each specific product, but this is what's going to get us to $500,000 to $1 million months. Churn prevention. So same sort of idea with churn, either just from churning from your email list or also churning from your subscription base. Campaign strategy. So we want to obviously be about 2 to 4 weeks ahead in terms of strategy with promotions and stuff like that. Of course, we want to have product launches. We want to have story, education, urgency campaigns. All these campaigns speaking to the different audiences that we're sending to. Segmentation, like I said, VIP, cold, reactivation, and campaign testing and optimization. When you send a campaign, are you just sending one campaign, or are you testing your audiences? Are you testing subject lines? Again, this is the more complex things that have to be done to scale a brand to these numbers. Design and copy, right? These should be executed at extremely high level. Make sure we're totally on brand. We don't want to be just using the Klaviyo basic email flows here. We want to outline everything in a design software like Figma to make sure that everything is on brand as well as persuasive and built to actually convert. And like I said, ongoing optimization. If your team isn't relentlessly looking at all the data, looking at the flows, looking for ways to improve, testing subject lines, monitoring open rates, that's where a lot of brands just think they have it all set up, but it's the ongoing optimization. That's really where we're able to pick up the momentum on the email side. So as you can see here, what we solve through the retention engine, and once having these 4 pillars absolutely dialed in, we should be built to drive 30 to 50% plus of your email, of your revenue from email, and lets you scale paid traffic with confidence because your back end is so bolstered through email, SMS, and loyalty programs, and powers $1 million a month brands from the back end out. And we work with a variety of brands here. This is a smaller brand that came with us doing 14,000, only 2,000 driven through email, very little, and we increased that 123% after working with us. Here, 7-figure supplement brand generated over $1 million over the course of last year through email SMS alone, which was a 42% improvement year over year. Here's a month-over-month improvement for a 7-figure prep brand. As you can see, first came on the first 30 days, increased email revenue by 81%. And as you can see here, another brand that generated $1 million a month and generated 266 through email, which is a 273% improvement. Again, these are just in the first month or so of really implementing our email system here. Now, what you can do next if you're interested in learning more about exactly how we do this, I encourage you to click down below. We have a video that's like a 5-minute training that goes over the process, how we do it, why it's so important to have a retention engine built out, how we go about executing this for brands that are doing $100,000 to $500,000 a month, and some more case studies and results that you can check out. So click that down below if you want to learn more about that. But if you're just want to learn more about email, I'll be posting more trainings just like this that are more value focused on showing you exactly what we're doing to help brands scale to $1 million months. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I look forward to speaking with you soon. Take care.